Welcome to another episode of Two Old Men in Chairs. I'm Corrin Strong.
And I'm Howard Appel.
Today we're going to go back in time again. After all, we're boomers, so this was the music of my youth, absolutely, but apparently not yours.
No, I wasn't a big soul fan like you were.
You didn't have to be a soul fan. This was the #2 song in the nation on the Billboard Top 100 in 1971.
Well, I think in one of our early videos we discussed how I had stopped listening to the radio.
You must have stopped cold turkey.
1968, yes, I did.
Anyway, we're talking about the great Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, which came out in the middle of the Vietnam War, and it was the first real Motown song that had a social message. Motown was all about feel good, the sound of young America, love songs.
Could I challenge that for just a bit?
Go ahead.
Sam Cooke
Well,
had
tell me about
it. Supposedly inspired by Bob Dylan's "Blowin' in the Wind," did a song "A Change Is Gonna Come" several years.
Well, yeah, there
earlier
were
than this.
civil rights songs,
Yeah.
but this is an anti-war song,
Okay.
which I don't.
Yeah,
I
anti-war is maybe.
And actually, it was a song that Marvin and a couple of his friends wrote, and then Berry Gordy, the head of Motown, refused to release it. He hated it.
That's an interesting story.
And then for over a year, Marvin refused to do any more recordings
That's it.
unless he would release that song. And then somebody in the studio released it without telling Berry, and it immediately sold like a couple 100,000 copies. And then all of a sudden, Berry loved the song.
Did Gordy just think it was a commercial, or didn't he like the politics?
He didn't like getting into the politics. His idea was, music should not go there.
Probably once he made a lot of money, he
And once he made a lot of money, he loved it. And then they released an album behind the song called "What's Going On" also. And that album I consider one of the greatest albums of all time. And it's also very similar to the other albums of the '60s, like Sgt. Pepper's. It was a theme album. Like the songs were kind of interrelated, and one blended into another, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful album. So for today, in addition to What's Going On, I found a recording here that also has the next song on the album, which is called "What's Happening, Brother," which is very similar in theme to What's Going On, and actually gives a little more anti-war or a little more details about the genesis of both songs. Here we are, the great Marvin Gaye, big hit from 1971.
Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. Oh, it's not the answer, for only love can conquer.
Mother, mother, there's far too many of you crying, and Father, Father, there's far too many of you dying. We don't need to escalate. Now that, maybe today that's somewhat obscure, but in the times of Vietnam, that was a very clear message, right?
Yes. Yeah, that escalation of the war, sending more American troops over there.
Yeah, and we went through a lot of escalation in the Vietnam War from the time that Kennedy was killed and Johnson took over, and then went from a few thousand advisors to, I don't know, did we have 500,000 men over there at one time? It seems like we were close to it.
We had quite a few.
Yeah, and that was called escalation. We're just going to escalate the war. It made it sound like it's just a little minor adjustment, a couple 100,000 more men.
All the time while war had not been officially declared.
Yeah, and it just kept growing. So by Marvin making this statement, it was so powerful. And the line there that he said, "Only love can conquer hate," actually came from Martin Luther King, who gave an anti-Vietnam War speech. A lot of people don't remember that. It was slightly before he was killed. some people may think it has something to do with him getting killed. But he turned against the war. And of course, a large part of the war was fought with draftees, and a lot of the draftees were black.
Disproportionately, I believe, to their fraction of
Disproportionately
the population.
to their percentage of the population, and especially the number of blacks that were killed in action in Vietnam is disproportionate to the percentage of the population. So Marvin was right there, you know, on the front line of the protest that was really breaking out there.
To bring some loving, oh, yeah, yeah. Picket lines, picket signs, punish me with brutality. Talk to me, honey, so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Ooh.
Now, before they go into instrumental here, that was actually the impetus of writing the song, was that they saw a picket, a demonstration with picket signs, and then the police moved in and they roughed up some people, and so everyone was saying, what's going on?
Marvin was eyewitness to that.
Either Marvin or another fellow who wrote the song.
He's not the writer then.
He's a partial writer. There's three guys on that wrote it. I think it was actually another fellow who saw the picket, and they started talking about it and say, what's going on with that picket and the police brutality, and that ended up starting the song.
What's going on? Tell me what's going on. Ooh. Come on here. Woo. Ah, baby. Hey. Everybody thinks we're wrong, they do. But who are they to judge us? Simply cause our hair is long. People, you know, we've got to find a way to bring some understanding here today.
Everyone thinks we're wrong, but who are they to judge us simply because our hair is long?
I noticed the lyric here is formulated in, not all of it, but a fair portion of it is formulated in questions. And so, like, encouraging the audience to draw its conclusion rather than a blatant, this is wrong.
Yeah,
Think of it as
it
more
kind of follows along with, you know, the Bob Dylan
invitation to think about, or especially, for what it's worth, the Steve Still song, which
or
is
Buffalo
lots of questions.
Springfield.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of how many roads must a man walk down, you know,
But,
blowing in the wind.
invites the audience to draw its own conclusion rather than preaches to them, which is a good
But
way.
the long hair thing could be two things. It could be the hippies with their long hair, but also at this time, you know, the black guys started growing out their hair
Yeah.
with the afros.
Yeah, well, Jimi Hendrix, 67 with his
Yeah, and so the afro had become very popular, and so it's kind of a double, you know. It could be either one that he's referring to.
Picket lines, picket signs. People don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me, so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Wanna know what's going on? All right.
Judging from the vehicles, I'd say we're in the gas guzzler era.
Yeah, big wide.
The big muscle cars.
But I do have a question. This is 1971.
Yeah.
There was no market for this. Is a really good video, but how was this marketed? The videos weren't sold then. Did this just appear on the, on
I don't know
occasion.
the history of this particular video. I mean, it's a live performance of the song.
Mixed with this.
I don't know.
Was it put together later?
Someone could have taken archival
Yeah.
film, because obviously the film
Yeah.
is that of that
Maybe
era.
it was put together later when there was a market for video.
And then they put them together.
It is well done.
Yeah, and showing some of the worst ghettos with the windows all broken and poverty, and he's going to get into that aspect of it in the next song. But yeah, you're right. They didn't have video for those younger viewers.
Yeah, wasn't sold in
Video
record
didn't
stores.
really become big until
80s.
MTV in 1981, I believe, popularized music videos. So this was well before that. I should also point out that Marvin was a huge star for Motown. I mean,
Yes.
he had heard it through the grapevine, and he had a bunch of songs he did with Tammy Terrell, Mountain High, River Wide. He had a whole series of smash hits, and that's why Berry Gordy was like, "Why do you want to ruin your career, Marvin? You're a superstar. Why do you want?" It's always the record companies that want to keep somebody in a box.
A lot of the management doesn't get it, and that's a discussion we could have about contemporary management too, which is sort of stifling the music.
And but Marvin, stuck to his guns, and I'm not recording anything else until you let me do this.
That's pretty cool.
Hey baby, what you know good? I'm just getting back what you knew I would. Boys head, when will it end? When will people start getting together again? Things really getting better. The newspaper read. What else is new, my friend? Besides what I read. Can't find no work, can't find no job, my friend. Money is tighter than it's ever been. Hey man, I just don't understand what's going on across this land.
So that's really more specific, and I'm just getting back. His brother, Marvin's brother, went to Vietnam.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I left that part out. And so this song is more about a homecoming of a veteran from Vietnam.
Okay, he came back.
He came back, and I'm just getting back. War is hell. What's going on? Or what's happening, brother? And can't find no work, can't find no job. Money's tighter than it's ever been.
If you remember, early 70s, when I graduated from college, I believe my college graduating class had the fewest job findings of any class in decades. 71 was a bad year economically for the whole country.
What's happening, brother? Hey, what's happening? I wanna know. Things still getting down when we used to go and dance. Now I'm up when I fit it. Do you think they have a chance? And tell me, friend, how in the world have you been? Tell me what's out. I wanna know what's in. Woo! What's the deal? What's the deal, man? What's happening? What's happening, brother? What's happening? What's happening, brother?
I love that section. What's happening? I've been gone. I've been in Vietnam. I don't know what's going on. Does our ball club have a chance to win the pennant?
Well, outside of even the message here, I'll probably be the first to admit that I missed a lot by probably ignoring Motown, in the later 60s, early 70s, because there was some good stuff here. You listen to his voice; it's exquisite.
Oh,
It flows. It's smooth. It's like soft cream, and it's precise.
I mean, by this time he'd been a professional singer with Motown, probably going on 10 years. I mean, he had really refined his craft.
Absolutely.
And musically, there's another version that that I saw another live version where he had a huge orchestra playing this song, and he had horn sections and two conga drums, and he had about 20 people doing this song, and that's probably closer to what the studio version is.
Yeah, but his voice still carries it right through. It's just, you know, he could probably do this a cappella and it would be just as good.
Oh yeah, he wants to know what's happening, brother. What did I miss? You know, and he's coming back to a world, you know, the early 70s, as you say, a tough world.
Yeah. Well, a legitimate question, but also not so much blatantly anti-Vietnam, not blatantly anti-government. He's just asking the question, you know, and the question carries it all from there.
Yeah, I mean, the only hint that he's talking about a veteran is war is hell.
Yeah, it's a hint, and so I don't see where Gordy got so offended.
Well, this isn't the song that he was upset about.
That's
it
true.
was the first one.
The earlier one,
but this was on the album along with the other. It's very subtle, you know, in its themes, but it expresses, you know, along with the video that we saw of the people of that time, just it was hard times, you know, in America back then in the early 70s. Hard to find a job and hard to make money stretch, and we might be heading back into similar times right now, the way, you know, inflation's taking off. And
what's happening, brother? I wanna know what's happening. What's happening, my man? Been gone a long, long time. Now I'm back on the scene. What's happening, brother? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, brother? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Holding in the way, that's what I